Right now in Kansas, there are more than 1,700 trans people who woke up to find their driver's license effectively invalidated. And not because they did anything wrong, but because the state decided that their identity no longer counts. And I want to be very clear about something as a clinical psychologist. This is not about politics. This is not just policy. This is psychological harm. Human beings organize their mental health around dignity and belonging. And we know, we need to know rather, who we are, that others recognize who we are, and that the world that we live in sees us as legitimate. Identification documentation is not trivial. These are relational contracts with society. They say you exist, you belong, and you are recognized. And when a government suddenly revokes that recognition, it creates what psychology calls structural stigma. And we know that from decades of research that structural stigma increases depression, anxiety, suicidality, and trauma symptoms. So let's not pretend this is some neutral policy. This is real psychological harm. It is a state that is participating in humiliation. Um, Imagine being told overnight that every time that you show your ID at work, at the airport, at the pharmacy, or picking up your child, that you are being forced into a moment of exposure, questioning, or danger. This is not an inconvenience. This is a chronic psychological threat. And here's the part that people miss. Mental health does not come from therapy rooms. Mental health comes from whether or not society treats you with dignity. And you cannot build psychological safety while legally manufacturing shame. In my work, I talk a lot about relational health. The idea that humans heal and thrive when relationships convey that I see you, you matter, and you are safe. And policies like this do the opposite. They institutionalize rejection. And rejection becomes systemic. The nervous system doesn't interpret this as a debate, it interprets it as danger. You don't have to understand someone's gender identity to understand psychological harm. But if a policy predictably increases fear, isolation, humiliation for thousands of people, then from a mental health perspective, we have an ethical and social responsibility to name it for what it is: harm.